We're talking about the pasuk of Masak Or, and I looked at Rashi. Masak Or, Ketov Leinayim, Liros Hashemitz. It's sweet. The light is sweet and good for the eyes to see the sun. Koheles Yud Aleph Zayin. Rashi says it's talking about Torah. Rashi says it's talking about Torah. The Or of Torah is sweet, and I'll read this. Rashi says, "Or shel Torah." Right? V'tov leinayim ashreim talmidim sheineim roin halacha b'levunais u'mechuveres al buryev kach nidrus ba'agadas tilim. Rashi, the beautiful Rashi, especially for us learning halacha. Right? It's such a pleasure to see halacha clarified in the Torah. You start off. I have a Sfeir Shaila this week. Right? If you want to just take a peek here at the Mar Makomos, right at the beginning, the Shaila was a kesem on underwear, which stretches, right? We know the shear of a kesem is a gris, the size of a penny, but what if the underwear stretches, And the person on, off, how do you measure it? I only saw one person, one sefer in the whole world speak about this. It's the Art Scroll, and he says, ask your rabbi. He doesn't have an answer, right? So that means nobody ever nobody ever had the audacity to write down an answer to this question. So those are the ones that I like. As my Rebbe Razem Nechemia Goldberg told me, those are like a lot safer because you're not arguing with anybody. But when you have a Shver Shaila and you work on it, and you see a Sugya, and then you see a Rishon, you see the Torah, Beis Yosef, Shulchan Aruch, and the Poskim. I once went to, when we started this Shaila about the Caravan wine opener, I went to Rav Israel Auerbach, like very proud. I said, this is a Shaila which has never been asked, even on Har Sinai, right? Or maybe since Har Sinai. He says, Ein kazeh davar. Every question has an answer. You just have to know how to find it. And when you find that or, when the or comes out, right, the light, if you're able, you're to find the light, so that's a big, big pleasure. That's a big, big pleasure. It's much greater pleasure than anything that this world has to offer. And that's what Rashi's saying, Masak Or. The or is sweet, is the or of Torah. Now, there's a very interesting chazal. It's a little bit in Yonah Diyoma. We're coming upon the Yontif of Chanukah soon, right? That the Or HaGanas, we know the first 2 days of creation, the first 36 hours, there was Or HaGanas. Hashem saw that it was too kaddish, it was too holy to be just used by everybody, so he hid it. And where did he hide it? Anyone know? Where is it? What? Oh, yeah, okay. It's in the Torah. The Or HaGanas is in the Torah. And that means that when a person is learning Torah, right, that he can connect himself to that primordial light, the Or HaGanas, which is, we saw the Gemara Nida, Daf Lamed Aleph, I think. It talks about Adam. It talks about a baby and in the womb and Adam Rishon. With that light, you could see from one end of the world to the other. I heard a story once about the Chalban. You know about the Chalban? Yeah.
Sorry to go off topic, but the Torah was made before the Olam. So this light was not in the Torah, and the Torah got this light later on. This light was lacking in the Torah at the beginning.
You're asking a good question, right, Rabbi Gitlin? A good question. Hare Stakal B'Raisa Bar Elma. The Torah was before the world. It was Taf Kufay and Dal Dors before the world. The Torah existed. But it could be the pshat is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu now that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when He created the world, He created with the Or, Vayi Or, the Or HaGanas, and He took that Or and put it in the Torah. It could be with something added that wasn't there before. That's what I would suggest.
Adam managed to see Sefer without the Torah. Now because of Chet Adam, he's gone.
I would say that Gemara Nida is talking about before the Chet, when he was created. Afterwards, you learn to say for Leshem, he talks about Adam Rishon before he was sinned was, it said, he went from Or to Or. He went from Or with an I, Aleph, to Or with an Ayin. If we would see Adam Rishon today, he would be invisible before the Chet. He was just light, right? He only became a physical being after he ate from the Eitz Hadas. He wanted to know what evil was all about, and it wasn't really like a tree, it was some sort of, intellectual experience. I mean, at least the way the Leshem learns. And he decided to investigate what evil was, and because of that, he fell and became a physical being, and that's why we have the world it is today. But you see that there was such an Or that allowed you to see from one world to the other. I was saying that the Chalban, right, I recently in America met one of the primary Talmidim of the Chalban. He asked me to translate some of his writings into English. The Chalban was a milkman. Not a milkman, he wasn't a milkman even. He used to milk cows. And one day someone saw him as he was milking up, what is he saying? And they realized he's like the biggest mekubal in the whole world. He was hiding himself. So there was somebody once captured. I heard this from the person who spoke to him about it. He said if someone was captured and taken to England, and he said, oh yeah, he's on this street in London, in this apartment, and this. He knew exactly where it was. Why? Because the Torah, if you get to that level, allows you to see from one end of the world to the other, and that's the Or Ganas. Obviously, most of us can't get to that, and if we can, we're not going to tell anybody. But although my Chavrusa, Rabbi Miles, did teach me how to read foreheads, so everybody should realize that. But I heard once someone went to the stipler with a hat, or as I said, you think I can't see your forehead because you have a hat on? Anyway, but the point is that that's what Rashi is saying. The Mesikas Or is the Or of Torah, and if a person wants to get that Or, you have to connect to it, which means you have to be learning to get the Or out. We were zochet to have one of the big tzaddikim in America here, right? He doesn't want to be publicized, so I won't say his name. Everybody knows what I'm talking about, right? Who learns Yom V'Layla, Shema, and Nigla, and Nister. And he told us, a person should say the tefillah before the Beis Medrash, and he's taught me a lot of things. He said, if you're learning L'Shem Shemayim, there's a lot more in the Torah that you could really access that you don't really even realize yet. Right? You only realize as you're going along. But I want to finish with, I'm finished this year, but the Rokeach says that the 36 Neros of Hanukkah are parallel to 36 hours of the Or Ganas was burning in the world, and that on Hanukkah you be zochet Or Ganas, right? A lot of Hasidim, or even some Misnagdim who don't want to admit it, they will just look at the Or of the candles, and that's the Or Ganas. That's the Or Ganas, and you connect to the Or. So B'ezrat Hashem, it's more than 30 days, or less than 30 days before the Chag. We should all get ready for Hanukkah. If you really want to experience Hanukkah, you have to know a little bit about Hanukkah, learn the Sugis and Shabbos, learn the Divrei Chazal. But maybe most important is to understand about the Or Ganas and what we can get out of Hanukkah, man, and son. Yeah. Okay.